morning and welcome to another episode of the 0730 Mentorship Academy call. This is Rev Walter Mwambazi, Thought Transformation Leader, and today I am here on our segment we call the Open Market, in which we speak about various products and services. And today I will be sharing on the products that I run under my company, Destiny Peak Pro. Now, for those of you joining us for the first time, if this is your first time that you're watching this and you're watching us on YouTube, I ask you immediately to do the needful, which is to like what you're watching and please subscribe if you can. So if you want to subscribe, do it right away. I'm literally asking you now, get your phone or get your gadget or your computer, whatever it is, and just go to the section that says subscribe and click on that now. Remember, we're going to reach as many people as we can, and we can only do this through these platforms. And if you're watching on Facebook, thank you so much. Remember to tag someone, share widely. The topic I'm handling today is a very, very interesting topic, and I know it will be a blessing for you. Now, before I get into the topic, let me mention that every Monday I come on with Unleashing Your Destiny, which is always at the same time we teach on various topics around the issues of bringing out the best of who you are. On Tuesday, Sunshine Sylvia, right now she's in Ghana, but she teaches on a subject she calls mindset change. So she has the mindset change program, very thorough program around effecting the change of thinking among people. Very, very good show and content. On Wednesday, it's the open market, for which today I'm the one presenting. I did present last week. I'm presenting again this week. Next week, probably Sunshine will be back, so she will do it. But we normally leave it open also for those that may wish to get into a situation where they want to advertise. And so if you're one of those, there's a scroll right under there. For the next 1 minute, I'll leave that scroll on so that you can look at the number and you can get in touch with us if you want to do anything on this, whether it's a scroll, background banner, icon, special message, short video adverts, speaker mention, or even a session. If you want to be on our platform, we reach over 100,000 people a month. And if you're interested, we can have you on this as well. On Thursday, we have Dr. Nelly with her very powerful Prosperity for Your Soul, in which she looks at a perspective between the spiritual and the physical. Very deep content worth your while. And then on Friday, we have Health Tips with Dr. Jacqueline Mulundika, where she comes and speaks about health. So if you're looking for a platform where you can receive very high quality, free mentorship and guidance, this is your platform. Those of you who want to take it a notch higher than this, we do have paid programs on each one of those presentations you see over there. In fact, this one I'm presenting today is part of those that you can actually upgrade and become a paid participant. So that being said, we are today looking at the topic Detractors to Destiny, progress traps to overcome. So last week we looked at another one, which was the first, which is living in the past or time travel. Today we're looking at the second, which is progress traps to overcome. We are seeking or looking at the shiny detour. I believe with all my heart that for many of you, this is going to be very, very insightful, and it will be able to help you do what you need to do in order to progress. So what is a detractor? All right, so it is, in the simplest terms, a repellent to your destiny. There are three key detractors or repellents, which are namely living in the past, which we looked at, or time travel, and then the shiny detour, which is what we'll be looking at today. And then next week we'll be looking, or next time when I come on, we'll be looking at the sunk cost fallacy. And so we want to examine deeper the detractor to destiny, namely the shiny detour. Now, while simple and seemingly innocent, this one also works to destroy a factor many do not take into consideration when it comes to progress and success, and this factor is known as the law of momentum. Okay, that's what it's called, the law of momentum. Okay, that law states that it takes 5 times more effort to start than to keep going. Now, what most do not understand is that when you start any endeavor, there is always going to be more energy expended at the beginning, But the moment this endeavor or vehicle begins moving, another factor kicks in, namely velocity and the very mass of the vehicle or endeavor that pushes it forward. So the more it moves, the less energy is needed to keep it moving. That's basically what the law of momentum is and how it works. Now, why all this info? Simply because whenever you begin any endeavor or undertaking, the amount of resources required at the start are always greater. You're going to have to expend way more resources at the beginning, okay? But then with time, you will realize that as you progress, it becomes easier to run because momentum kicks in. The faster and larger it is, the more momentum it gains and the more progress it makes, okay? It is for this reason why accepting a temporary detour to do other things and then come back to continue later is the biggest mistake you will ever make when it comes to any progress or undertaking, simply because you lose the much valued momentum gain. Okay. Another factor most do not realize is that when you have your peers and competitors who are running alongside, and then you take a detour, they gain on you, and sometimes you may never catch up with them when you come back. And the common idiom that exemplifies this is the early bird catches the worm. In short, there is such a thing as first to market. It always gives you an advantage. And this, unfortunately, is a very common scenario among many. What happens to them, they start off well and good, but somewhere down the line, they get detracted, they go off track, and then they remain off track. So they never come back. And even if they decide to, what happens essentially is they come back and find that the people have gone, everyone has moved forward, everybody's gained, and they have remained behind. So they essentially are just doing catch up after that. So this is why it's not exactly the best thing you can do. And then further, whenever you fall for the detour, certain things happen which may make it almost impossible to get back. So let me look at some of those things, and they are serious ones. They're actually right now. Let me look at my notes. There are three major items that happen to you. Let me name them. Number one is familiarization or the comfort zone. Number two is the growing roots and connections. And number three is the overwhelming responsibilities. These are the things that happen to you when you go on a detour. And many times that will actually put you at a place where you can't even come back. Now, just before I go on, let me mention that those of you watching this and you're listening and it's hitting some bells, and you know some people that you think will need this, please tag them. Even if they don't catch this broadcast live, they will catch it later. And you know that's going to help them immensely. So make sure you just tag somebody, share with somebody, share on your own platform, let everybody know that this is some serious stuff and it will help them. So let's go into the three areas. So number one is familiarization, or what we call the comfort zone. So now, what is this comfort zone exactly? See, the longer you run with the detour, the more you settle for what it offers, and this becomes normal. It thus dulls your senses and makes it very difficult to pull out of that now familiar place, which we refer to as your comfort zone, in order to get back to the struggle connected with your path to destiny. So here's the thing. The path to destiny is usually very challenging. Very challenging. No wonder, in a way, Jesus amazingly made a point, which was more in relation to our life and our future in the kingdom of God. But it did make sense. He says, broad is the way and wide is the path that leads to destruction. Many are on it, whilst narrow is the path and difficult is the way that leads to life, and few find it. Now notice the difference there. One says many are on it. So meaning by default, people always follow the course of least resistance. The course of least resistance never leads you to your destiny. I'm going to say that again. The course with the least struggles never takes you to your destiny, ever. The path to life is very difficult, very narrow, and few find it. In other words, it's not a default. You have to move away from the path to destruction to get to the path, the road, which is a very broad road, it's a highway literally, to hell. And then the path to life, you got to get deliberately out of the normal path. Now, that path to destiny is difficult, and that's why many end up being drawn by this detour. Now, when they get drawn by the detour, they find that it's comfortable, it's a better place, it's easier to go on, and that's why it becomes a place of familiarity. We have said this many times before, that the place of familiarity is not the zone of your success. It's the comfort zone. If you want to get to your destiny, you have to leave or go outside that area or comfort zone or place of familiarity. You have to deliberately unplug and go elsewhere. That's very difficult. That's why a lot of people start on the journey to destiny will soon see the shiny detour. They'll see that thing that's, you know what, okay, let me just do this. I'm going to do this for a year very quickly. Let me just do this, then I'll come back to my path. And in the process, they miss their door. In the process, they miss their destiny. In the process, they miss what God had planned for them. It's a very unfortunate situation, but it's a very common situation. I remember one time, many years ago, Bishop Imakando, I heard him on the Hour of Blessing. And he was preaching and he said, you know what? In heaven, there's going to come a day when God is going to play that master DVD back of what we all could have potentially been like. And a lot of us will be blown away in shock when we're shown what we could have become. So that's a really deep thing to think about, right? What you could possibly have become, but you did not become that because you were detoured, you were sidetracked, you went for the path of least resistance. So there you have it. So that's familiarization, a very serious issue. The second one is growing roots and connection. So now here you are, you're in that place of familiarity, you've gone into that detour, and now imagine that you are there, and then what happens? You get connections of some of which are very difficult to pull out of. Whereas still, these detours will have roots that hold you down and make it difficult to exit out of. These include, but are not limited to, a wrong relationship, a manipulative environment, or even a regular and predictable paycheck that beats the challenges that come with starting a business, wrought with so many unpredictable challenges. So these familiar payments or these familiar things become so strong that they literally root. You grow roots and you're hooked in them. And once you're hooked in them, you can't come out, even if you want to. Because by coming out, you have to uproot yourself. Do you know how difficult it is to uproot yourself? A lot of people can't do this. One of the psychological traps we spoke about in my previous presentations is a trap called the barbed wire trap. Now, what's the barbed wire trap? The barbed wire trap, we spoke about it yesterday evening on our call. The barbed wire trap is the trap where an individual finds themselves connected to someone. For example, you're a pure, lovely girl, you're going to university, you're doing your best to make it in life, but things are very hard, and here comes a sugar daddy, lots of money. You start a relationship and he promises to pay all your bills, he pays your school fees, and you know what, it's really helpful. And then from there, he takes care of your needs in the school, and then from there, he probably rents you a little apartment, and then to just top it all up, he even buys you a car. So now you are at a very comfortable place. Remember the familiarization? You're at a very comfortable place, but you know very well that this is not going to work, because that's a sugar daddy. He's married, he's got his own family, he's not going to pull empali on you. It's rare. And so what happens, you just become this side chick. Now, in the process, there comes Mr. Destiny. There comes the man of your dreams. This is the guy you've dreamt about. This is the guy you just love, and he shows up. And you realize, oh my God, I think I love this guy. I think I want to make this work. But then, the roots I was talking about, he's paying your school fees. He's paying your rentals. He bought you a car. He's probably supporting your parents and your siblings in school. So you know what happens to most of those ladies? Now they have the barbed wire experience. Do you come out of this pit and get seriously injured as you go, but go to your destiny, which is much better, in ideologically speaking, or do you remain in the pit because you can't handle the barbed wire? And the barbed wire in this case is the disconnecting from this sugar daddy. You think a sugar daddy is still going to pay you all that rent and all those upkeeps just because you feel you have this destiny? It's going to cut off all his support. And when he cuts off all his support, that's where most people now have a challenge, because how are they going to survive? How are they going to manage? How are they going to proceed if the sugar daddy has cut off everything? And this is a very common situation with a lot of people. They find that they cannot be able to exit. And that's exactly what I speak of, my friends, when I talk about the growing of roots. So many have opted to just remain stuck with that man and lose a chance to get into destiny with a young man that is more suited to her life. Now, look, at the end of the day, whatever we choose is what we become. But the truth of the matter is, there is always a better option. The detour is attractive because it's viable. But then, even though it's viable, it's not the best. You always have seconds. You could have technically had the best if you had stuck it in the road to destiny or the path to destiny, but it's scary. Very few people have the energy and the zeal and the determination to do it. They just fail. They say, you know what? Let me just go with this guy and it's okay. But they lose out on a greater option. They could have had much better, but they opt instead to go for this. And once they go for the familiarization and they grow roots, then they're stuck. Which brings me to the third item, overwhelming responsibilities. As is typical of detours and their corresponding activities, it does not take long before one is overwhelmed with responsibilities coupled with roots that cannot be easily broken or uprooted. Exactly what I just came from saying. And these leave one emotionally invested in the detour, and as such, their chances of leaving that detour to go back to their destiny course is very unlikely. This is made worse by the fact that any attempt to get back to the detour will be viewed as a selfish and heartless endeavor by those who are invested in you. Of course, the sugar daddy will never let you, because he will just stop paying you. He will stop supporting you. And by the way, that's just one of many scenarios that can happen. And for most people, they never come out. You go into a very, very bad relationship with somebody, very bad. It may not be a sugar daddy, it's just somebody. And then that somebody's violent, they are mean, they are horrible. You have 2-3 kids with that person, and then you wake up one day and realize, oh my God, I can't live like this anymore. I am living a lie. Most people will not come out of the detour because there's just too much invested. There's children, there is in-laws, there's a whole life built around this person and this choice. And so you gotta live with that choice, even though you know that choice is slowly killing you every single day. And like I say, if you want to exit, you'll be seen as selfish and senseless. So that's what it is. So when I come back, we will look at the solutions to this. But just before that, let me say something. These examples I've said make it very difficult for most to return back to where they were, and in the final analysis simply give up on their dreams and settle for whatever they are in, which is the detour, which most times is not faithful to their calling and destiny, and hence why I call it a detour. This then ensures it repels your destiny, a true detractor in every sense of the word. So the detour is a destiny crusher. If we have destiny helpers, there are also destiny crashers. There are things that come in life and they draw you away from your destiny and they leave you on the rocks, so to speak. Extremely unfortunate situation for most people. And so the big question that you got to ask yourself, are you willing to pay that price? Are you willing to detach? Are you willing to become true and go back to who you really are? So what I'm going to do, we're going to take a short break, an advert, and when we come back, we will look seriously at the point. Are we able to pull out? What's the solution to such a situation? Alrighty, so we're back, and I continue where I was, which is to look at the solution now. So now that we've looked at this, these detractors, what is the solution? How do we get out of this very, very precarious situation? How do we break free? How do we bring ourselves to a place of a redemption? So if one hasn't been sucked into this detour, do not fall for it. Do not even try. Just stay away from the detour, because these detours are way more powerful than you can imagine. Okay, it is a terrible yet very subtle devil that is very challenging to beat once you go down that path. But if one is already in it, then here's what needs to be done. So let's look at each one and how you break free. So number one is the familiarization or comfort zone. What do you do to break free? Alrighty, recognize that this is not your destiny, and you are not willing to sell your birthright for a bowl of soup. That is, you will not give up on your destiny for temporal comfort. Also know that your success is always outside your comfort zone, and as such, you will need to launch out on a limb in the strength of your vision to see things become as they were supposed to be. This, my friends, will require absolute courage. What am I saying? I am saying this. It's so important to know who you are, to know your destiny. That's why, excuse me, in our circle, we're very big on teaching destiny and self-discovery, because we know for a fact, I know for a fact, Dr. Nelly knows for a fact, Aunt Sylvia knows for a fact, Dr. Jackie knows for a fact that unless you discover who you really are, you won't even know what your destiny is or what a detour is. Because if you don't know who you are, then you don't know why you're here. Remember, purpose precedes design. And there is no human being on this planet by accident. Each one of us has a destiny to fulfill. And when we are awakened to our purpose, then we can begin to pursue purpose. And when we begin to pursue purpose, we will not be sidetracked. So no matter how comfortable this place of comfort may be, for as long as you know in your heart that this is not where you're called to be, you gotta garner the courage to come out. So if you're fortunate enough to know where you're supposed to go, at least you have the courage to say no. But let's imagine that you are no longer at that place of knowing, but you are now at a place where you have growing roots and connections. Okay, you have now locked yourself in that. So remember, the first one, which is familiarization, requires courage. But suppose you have grown roots, you went for the detour, and now this detour has you. So what happens then? The best way to deal with this is to use the same solution for the sunk cost fallacy, which will be looked at next week. And that is to simply cut your losses and move on. Now that's scary for many people. Cutting losses? This will mean literally accepting to lose what you have invested in exchange for the peace of being true to yourself than to continue placing good money after bad money. Okay, this will require resolve. The word resolve is where we get the word resolution. You have to make a very strong resolution. This is one of the reasons why we are big on encouraging people to have a mentor, a coach, somebody who's going to put you to task. In the words of Dr. Nelly, they'll put scorpions under your chair and bite you continuously until you get off that place. But the truth of the matter is that very few people have that kind of realization. I always say this, transformation cannot happen until first one realizes. Realization cannot happen until one has a revelation. Revelation is divine. That's my conclusion. I've been thinking deeply about this, and I was sharing this yesterday. I was saying, what is it that makes one person realize that they need to wake up and change their life? And what makes others not wake up? Why do other people not see that they are on the wrong path? And what makes others see that they're on the right path and wrong path, and even make a decision to change in order to get to the right path? What's that differentiator? For me, it's a revelation. But for me, I think and believe totally that it's divine. It's the one thing that no one can institute until the person is ready. The Chinese have a saying, which is one of my favorite. It says, and I quote, "When the student is ready, the teacher appears." It's so true. As long as those listening to me by video or whatever, if you're not ready, this is just going to be another speech. But if something clicks in you, all of a sudden you're going to say, wait a minute, what have I been doing? And something inside you will click, and that'll be it. You will make the change. I just pray that many people will be in that space. But statistically, I know for a fact that the awoken are usually 4%. That's just how it is. 4%, 5% are the ones who wake up. 90% are just out. They are asleep. They're just literally sheeple walking to the slaughter. They have no clue what's going on. And then 5% are actively making sure that those 90% are asleep, because it's to their advantage. And by the way, in that 5%, 1% rule, 4% do the will of the 1%. So it's an unfortunate situation. And I've learned that for most people, no matter how much we try, unless God gets in the equation, they never wake up. That's scary, isn't it? That's why so many people are operating on autopilot, getting mediocrity and getting way below what they can do, way below their potential of what they can become in terms of influence, in terms of what they achieve in their lives, in terms of the legacy they create. They are way, way below what they can be. And that for me is very sad. And unless you wake up, many will remain there. That's why I say that it will require resolve. There has to be a resolution on the part of the individual to see that they can come out. Until that happens, they're not coming out. The third one is overwhelming responsibilities. Now, this is really hard, right? This one is hard because you end up suffering a messiah complex, except that the need is real. If you have loans and obligations because of being in that space, then you end up, they tie you down. The only way out for this one is to work out seriously your exit plan. So this is the case where it means you create your strategic master plan for precisely how this will be done, and then execute it diligently. And remember, you do not want to become too analytical, or else you suffer from what we call analysis paralysis, a challenge that many suffer from. So create the plan, complete it as soon as humanly possible, then ensure you set dates and to that and begin executing it. This will require ironclad determination. It's the reason why we are big on encouraging people to be part of coaching programs, because when you're part of a coaching program, what tends to happen is that people kick in. You have mentors, you have coaches that come in and actually begin to help you. If you don't have these coaches and mentors, you really will struggle, because nobody will be there to push you. Nobody will be there to remind you. And it's so funny, a lot of us tend to kind of coast along and kind of chill and relax until we get that phone call. You go, oh my God, Dr. Nelly is calling. And somebody is calling. Rev Walter is calling. And you know I'm going to be asking you, so where are we with that decision? Are you going to do it or not? So you know what happens to a lot of people, and I see this all the time. Rev, I need us to go through counseling. Oh, I need us to go through, I want to start my business. I'm ready. How much does it cost to get some business coaching? X amount. All right. I'm going to come. I want us to do this. I want to come. I want to do it. And then you know what happens? Exactly. What happens is the detours show up, and the big banners show up, and all the detractors show up. And for the majority of people, that's how they get stuck. They month 1, month 2, month 3, I've had situations where we've clocked 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years since the person said they wanted to start, and they never get around to starting. I'm very good at follow-up, and I do follow up very regularly with a lot of people, but they just never move. And that's why statistically, and you know what? There will always be an excuse. There will always be a problem. A funeral, people didn't pay, child got sick, I don't know, whatever. There's always going to be something that's going to come and keep you locked in that place. You will just not see the progress that you want. And that's why the ironclad determination becomes everything. You just have to say, you know what, this is it. And that's why we jokingly say, especially for me, I jokingly talk about effort chavala and the statement ukwi posa mofie. Do you know that if you make a decision, that word means just throw yourself in there. If you make a decision that I want to start this course and I'm going to run with it, just throw yourself in it. Don't allow the excuse to show up, because if you're going to go, okay, next week when we get to the month end, I'll put my, what will happen is you never do it. And it's amazing, because I've told some people, okay, you know what, pay small monies, and then when you're ready, let's start. Same story. You're going to have, oh, the child, oh, my marriage is in problems, oh, there's always some reason. And that's how life works. It always does that. There's a running joke in the industry called Murphy's Law. And Murphy's Law states if it can go wrong, it will. I don't buy into that. May I say if it can go right, it will. So I tend to go with the opposite. But Murphy's Law has a committee called the Murphy's Committee. And their job is just to see how serious you are. You say, oh no, I wanna change. I wanna do this. And then you know what happens? They just throw the first little trial and there you are, detracted already. Ah, no, let me do it next. You know, I know we said we'll start this week. Let's start next week. And then next week. I know we said this week, but there are some issues. Let's start the other week. And I've got people who have been doing this for 1 year. 1 year. 1 year. We've been, no, next week. No, next week. No, because next week. Next week. And the week after, next week. And next week. And the week, and the week, and the week, on the week. And then we just go on and on and on. And it's Donald Trump who's credited for this statement. Very powerful statement. He said, you can either make money or make excuses. You can't do both. And you know what? It's true. You gotta get, you just have to make a decision. And when you make that decision, you gotta be determined to see it come to pass. And for many people who will come out of this particular shiny detour, it'll take ironclad determination, a super resolution, and a decision that does not look back. You know, Jesus made a statement that a lot of people didn't understand. They said, somebody told him, Lord, let me go bury my father and I come and follow. Then Jesus says, let the dead bury themselves. It sounded very cold, but when you analyze Jesus' statement, it's exactly what I'm talking about. He said, you know what? There'll always be something to do. Follow my kingdom and you still bury the dead. You still bury your father. And going further, he's the one who also said, no one who holds the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom. Those are people that keep looking back to where they came from instead of focusing on where they're going. And that's why so many people never progress, never make it past, because they always have some issue they're dealing with. It's so unfortunate, but it's just life. That's just how life is. And so in closing, I want to now challenge all of you on this one. Okay? Number one, do you have the courage to move out of your comfort zone? Number two, do you have the resolve to break and cut every route from where you are in this, comfort zone? And number three, do you have the determination, the ironclad determination to drop everything that is a false responsibility? If it's not related to your call, if it's not related to your destiny, are you willing to drop it? Are you willing to get back on course and run as you determine? Or are you going to finish another year, look at your resolutions and go, anyway, let's set them again? Are you going to do that? Or are you going to be serious about making this decision? So this is a really, really hard lesson today. I know this is not easy. And that's why I've put the link. Those of you who are serious about taking the course, I've got a course called Unleashing Your Destiny. This is the start of pushing you to the next stage, which is doing something about setting up your destiny, understanding who you are, self-discovery, the whole works. If you're willing to do this, I have what we call the 1-year strategic roadmap. Very easy to access. I think it's 300 kwacha. It comes with a full half-day training as well. And that's available right now. I mean, if you're serious, instead of making excuses, jump on that course right away. Follow the link that's been shared in the notification. Those of you who came on this call, you know there is a notification. Just go to that notification. You'll find you can be part of this. And then you go through the process, make your payment. It's only 300 kwacha, and let's do it. Don't make an excuse again. We have enough excuses as it is. The last thing we need is another excuse. Let's just make it happen. And so on this note, I want to thank you for this day. And you go to my page. If you're watching this on Facebook, if you're watching this on YouTube, the link is right there, unleashingyourdestiny.com, and you will be able to get onto the course. Payment methods are very easy and straightforward, no problem. Tomorrow, Dr. Nelly is going to be joining us and running with her part, which is prosperity for your soul. Do not miss it.